Did it pop up? You can record?
Okay.
All right.
Okie dokie.
Happy secretarying. Bye.
Bye. Okay, we have 3. All right.
Is that right? Just 3.
Yeah, congratulations.
Oh boy.
Jim, have you been a secretary before?
No.
Oh. Let me
Darn it,
do
we
this.
can't we can't adjourn now because you haven't had
No, we can't leave now. And you
We were
notice the
almost
picture
done.
behind you?
I did get documents from Tommy Brown
Oh, okay.
on what was supposed to be done some time ago, but
Yeah.
and I did look over them, etc. But
Yeah, as I was explaining to Don and Tom, we were going to look at the society website since they upgraded Member Center and did a bunch of different things, but it won't be available till Monday.
right.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is if you guys have seen my presentation, the presentation before. It's basically a slide presentation. And at the end of this, since everybody's registered and I have your email addresses, I will email that to you. So you don't have to go worry about. And there's one thing in there, I think I still have it, it's something that Keith Eckhart from Far Western District put together years ago. And it's still true. It's called Barbershop as a Business. And basically it's like a 3-page document, just goes through general, and it goes through all the officers. It goes to general what you do as president, as secretary, as treasurer, and then it goes down later on. It shows each month. Okay, in January, the president should be doing this, the secretary should be doing this, the treasurer should be doing this, which is the nice little document to refer back to. It's called Barbershop as a Business, and I will send that out to you as well.
Thank you.
So let me do this. Let me share my screen. Pull this up here. There we go.
Could we introduce one? I don't know.
Oh,
where
I'm
these
sorry.
photos
Yeah,
are
let's
from.
introduce ourselves.
All right.
I'll go first, I guess. Yeah, I'm Russell Bell. I'm secretary of the Dixie District. Have been so since 2003. I took over after Noah Funderburg decided he had had enough.
Really?
And moved to Mobile.
Yeah, and moved to South Alabama, Fairhope, I think. Yeah, and I'm currently secretary of the district. I'm secretary of the Atlanta Metro chapter, Atlanta Vocal Project. I'm the registrar for conventions for the district. And as I've told people before, I need to make me a new badge. It says Russell Bell, the idiot that won't say no. Because if somebody asks me to do something, I usually volunteer for it with no problems. I'll try to get it done. Okay, Don. Yeah, I'm just going to go in order on my screen. Don,
Okay.
you're next.
My name's Don Shaw, and I'm from the Macon, Georgia district. Macon, Georgia chapter. And took over as secretary last year in the middle of the year from the previous secretary because of his health. And been secretary a long time ago. And then went through a period of about 5 years where I was idiot enough to say yes to being chapter president. And finally got somebody else to do that for me. But I enjoy doing whatever's necessary for the chapter. So I'm looking forward to helping out this week.
Okay, Tom.
I'm Tom Riggle with the Lake Lanier chapter, North Georgia Barbershop Singers. Relatively new outfit, but I spent a couple of years as chapter development, and then they needed a secretary, and I was doing that too. And I said, I need to give up one of those. So I've been secretary since 2010 now. So lucky guy.
Yes.
Good to meet you guys.
And Jim.
Jim Weldon is my name. I just accepted the secretary for Voices of the South. I belong to Voices and also the Crimson Pride down in Tuscaloosa. I have not ever been secretary. I've always been more into the music part of things. Um, uh, been a barbershopper since 73, 72. Anyway, um, was down in Florida for a long time, but no, this being secretary is new to me, obviously.
Yeah.
But we're going to give it a gung ho try.
Yeah. It's you guys are sort of like me. It's like I worked for Publix for about a year and a half when I retired from the state back in 2014. And I remember each month you had to go to like a training video in the training room and all that. And the biggest thing Publix taught, which is a pretty good thing for the business, is you may be the deli manager, you may be the deli assistant manager, you may be the store manager, but your job is to do whatever it's necessary to get the job done. If it means if you're store manager, if it means sweeping the floors, you can have a broom and sweep the floors. So it's I look as my job in my chapter anyway is we do just whatever is necessary to get the job done. And unfortunately a lot of that falls on the secretary. So yeah, so we'll go through these slides, and like I say, anytime you have a question, just stop me and we can go over that. But this is Leadership Academy 2021. And this is why do we have a chapter secretary? I pulled a lot of these slides from a presentation the society put together several years ago. Some of it's outdated, so I took it out, and some of it's been updated, and it's in here. So you're required to, each chapter is required to have three things: president, secretary, and treasurer. It's funny. You would think a singing organization, one of the major requirements would be to be a VP music, but nope, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
It's these three jobs: the president, secretary, and treasurer. I guess basically they're talking about this is the administrative part. You don't necessarily need a VP of music to administer everything. You do need a VP of music and a director to keep everything going. And basically, as secretary, we're supposed to be the ones that know everything going on. We're supposed to be the ones that, if somebody has a question about membership, they come to us and say, "What about this type of membership? What about this?" Since you're the one that keep all the records, it's our job to make everything is up to date. Next slide. And here's your role as a secretary. You're a voting member of the board. You maintain it. A lot of these things were delegated out to different people. Like it says there, maintains corporate status with the state or province. Biggest thing on that is, yeah, you make sure it's done, but since the treasurer is the one that has the money, and he has to pay that, so you make sure that, and he's the registered agent of your chapter, and like in our chapter, it's our treasurer that's the registered agent, so he gets the state of Georgia incorporation papers every year. Now, I know different states have different rules, like the state of Alabama. I think once you're registered as a nonprofit in Alabama, there's no other requirements. In Georgia, every company, and we are a company, has to register every year. And I think to show you how long I've been retired from the state, I was in the Department of Revenue. When I was in the Department of Revenue, to maintain your corporate status was $10. I think now it's 50, or maybe a little bit less than that. I'm not the treasurer, so I don't know. And you keep records of the minutes, and you make sure everything is up to date. And that the chapter filing, like last week, I got an email from our treasurer. He's on the ball, Bruce Adams. He's already filed our 990 form for taxes. He's already renewed with the state, which is not even due until March. And he's already done the financial review. So those three big things for the society are already done. And he notified me that they were done. So that satisfies that. So like I say, as secretary, you want all the other board positions to report to you when they do things, not necessarily show it to you, but make sure it's all done. And that's the biggest thing. You maintain the corporate legal files. And we'll get into later on in this slide presentation how long you're supposed to keep all these files. And as I say, if you have any questions as we're going through this, if I get too fast, which I sometimes do, just tell me to slow down. And here's more members. And if your chapter deals with youth, you should really have a file that has the youth policy and knows everyone who has signed it. I know as a district leader, I have to each year have to go through a refresher course on the youth policy, and they give us a little test. And I've done that last year and the year before. They only started that the last couple of years. I haven't done it this year yet, but this year's sort of new.
Hey, Russ,
Yes.
on that, this is Tom, on that, should we have every member go through that and sign those forms? Or just board members or the people that are dealing with the youth directly? Or
I would say, at minimum, those that deal with the youth and maybe board members. But big thing, youth policy too, is there is a thing, if you have someone under the age of 18, there's a form, there's a not a waiver form, but an acknowledgement form that the parents of that youth need to sign as well. You need to keep a record of that.
yeah,
But
okay.
yeah, it would basically be the board and anybody that deals with youth on a regular basis.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Is
we
who you'd have
just
to do
got
that.
one this year, so
Yeah.
we got into that. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah. And then our chapter, we have a membership VP that does all the membership information. We as sort of policy for our chapter, I'm talking about this right here. For our chapter, he signs it and I sign it as secretary. I sign all the forms and he keeps a copy of all the forms. I can get to them at any time. But these are more duties than secretary. And this goes back to the minimum requirements for a chapter having a president, secretary, and treasurer. If that's all your chapter had, these would be very much important. You would be the one that would keep all these information. But since most chapters has a VP membership and a treasurer and other things, some of those responsibilities get delegated out to those folks, but you still need to be in the know. And you need to be able to contact them and say, hey, what about this person or that person? Yeah. And and down here at the very bottom, you see down here, it says chapter roster. One thing I have taken on as a board member for our monthly board meetings, I'll go through, put it back, I go through the roster online and see who's coming up for renewal. And I'll make a report to the board saying, okay, and we do have, right now, we have one guy that hasn't renewed in like 2 months, but we keep him on our list because we know once everything, we lose somebody. Okay, we'll keep going because it is being recorded and he can come back at any time. Yeah, you keep track of all of that. And I keep track up to 2 months in advance of everybody who's renewing in 2 months. So our membership VP can sort of start talking to him and say, hey, your membership's coming up. I hope you plan to renew, and here's what we need to do. Business responsibilities. If there's any invoices from the society, say your chapter buys a piece of music, 90% of the time you will get the invoice. You just transmit that to the treasurer. Is the biggest thing. I would keep a copy of it and the check showing you have paid for it, but that's just basic good business practices. And one thing you would need to do, I may have it down here later on, but right now, in your first meeting of the new year, list in your minutes as chapter secretary, anybody in your chapter or anybody related to your chapter that is responsible for handling money for your chapter. Say, like our chapter, we have a friend's wife who does all the refreshments at our shows and stuff. So at our first board meeting, we will list in there, these people are responsible for handling money for the chapter. It lists me as secretary, our treasurer, and it lists her as refreshments chairman for our shows. And what that does, that puts it on record that if anything were to happen, the bonding that goes along with our chapter would cover them. If they were to say, hey, we made $200 in refreshments, and all of a sudden I'm just going to pocket that money and see you later, we would be covered. That's what that's for, bonding purposes. And anytime you want to sing a new song, you need to get clearance or licensing for that music. You as secretary technically would initiate that. You would call the society and say, we want to sing this. What do we need to do? We want to get permission to have someone arrange us a copy of it. What do we need to do? And you would talk to I can't think of her name right now, but you can look it up.
Janice Bain.
Yeah, yes, her. That's the one. Yeah, she could help you with that. And when you fill out your show clearance form, which I know you guys and I too hope and pray we get to fill out one of those this year.
Yeah.
and actually have a show. It would be nice. You're the guys who submit that, and you submit it to me. And if you want to, there's no need to put it in the mail and mail it. Just email it to me. I can print it off, sign it, and scan it right back in and get it right back to you. But until we can figure out a way to email checks, that would still have to come to me. So to get the ball rolling, you can you can email me the form that you filled out for your show, and I will scan it and send it back to you. Once I get the check, I'll let you know I got the check and send that off to the society for show clearance. But as we all know right now, that's not a huge priority.
Yeah.
We wish it was, but it's not.
Yes.
That's like I'm a contest administrator for the society. I just got my first assignment to go to a contest this year. But there was a caveat at the end of it. It said, here's where you're going. I'm going to Geneva, New York in April. But they said, but don't buy your airline tickets yet. So yeah, right now, tentatively for April the 9th and 10th, I will be in Geneva, New York. It's a Seneca Land district, but don't bet on it. Okay, more communication responsibility. Yeah, if you're basically one of the liaisons between the chapter and the board. Well, and technically, I've always said every board member is a liaison between the chapter and the board because they all should be listening. And you're the one that gets to notify everybody of the annual meeting. That's one thing we had a problem with. It's sort of a problem on Zoom. It's sort of hard to do when you have your elections through Zoom. We did that this year, and I kept reminding our president and our nominating committee that we were supposed to have elections by October, but we finally got our 2021 officers elected December the 8th. At the last minute, and I finally just stood on their heads and said, we got to do this now, or everybody that's officer this year gets to repeat next year by default. And they didn't like that. Yeah, and you'll see contest preparation. When you go to contests, you're the one that gets all the membership records together. That these guys are legally members of the chapter. They've paid everything up, and then it would fall to me as a registrar to, if you ever had a question, did so and so register, I should be able to tell you that as a registrar. But there's just tons of little responsibilities, notification of members of the annual meeting, renewal of their membership. Like I said, we give that to our membership VP. If you don't have a membership VP, you just drop them a little note that says, we're glad to have you as a member. Hope you renew and continue to be a member. Let me ask y'all this. Has your chapter membership fallen off a lot since all this COVID stuff?
this is in North Georgia.
Yeah.
We've been averaging about 18 or 19 guys in our meetings, which means about 6 or 7 are not that normally would attend are not. So not bad.
That's not
We
bad.
feel pretty good.
How about you, Jim?
Voices has been, well, of course, we lost one to COVID, but we were doing about 18 on our weekly Zoom calls. Prior to that, it's on a few, but don't know the status of those as yet. I was trying to look it up on the online, but of course you can get online. Crimson Pride has not met. We have emailed a couple of times, but I fear for that. Of course, with Ron retiring, finding another director is going to be, I think, primary there. So I don't know on Crimson Pride.
Yeah, we've had when we had in-person meetings, we averaged between 28 and 31. And I just looked at it. We had we do Zoom meetings every other week. And I noticed this last Thursday, our meeting, we had 16 online. So, and looking at our membership online, we've gone from our high of 45 to 31 now, which I hope we're all hoping that this ends sometime soon where we can get back. We had one in-person rehearsal back last October, and we jumped through a lot of hoops to do that. We met at a park on the northwest side of Atlanta. We bought, let me get one, I'll show it to you. Everyone had to buy singer's masks, which if you've ever sung in one of these things, they are a pain. You can't see it because of my YouTube background. It's got a frame that it sits out about 4 inches from your face. And to me, it looks like you're a stormtrooper. Star Wars. And we required, yep, there you go. We required everybody to have one of those. I have a temperature one that I bought, and everybody had to have a temperature below 99 and all that stuff. And we had an hour and a half rehearsal, and we had 22 guys there, and it was so nice to be able to actually see other people and listen to other people singing around you. I mean, we do rehearsals on Zoom, but okay, everybody, if you mute yourself and sing along, it's just not the same.
No, what was the pain with that singer's mask? Is it just because it's so big? I mean,
to me it's that, because, and the biggest thing with it, it fits real tight around your face, which it should, but since there's all that space in there, when you exhale, all the carbon dioxide does not go away, so you're re-inhaling some carbon dioxide, and after about 30 minutes or so, you sort of get winded. So that was one thing we did in our hour and a half rehearsal. Every 30 minutes, we broke, and everybody sort of scattered out across the field and took their mask off. So you could sort of get re-energized, but you can sing through it. But yeah, to me, anyway, it's sort of, you're rebreathing the same air over and over. I mean, there's new air gets in because it's a permeable cloth, but it was trapping some air. That was about it.
It needs like a PCV valve or something in it to ventilate your crankcase or something.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Your annual schedule, monthly, and process membership applications. Again, we've delegated that to our membership VP. Dual memberships and transfer requests, you do those. Those would come to you, but you will get, once we get those, I transfer the paperwork to our membership VP. Announce the chapter board meetings. We do that on we have a calendar we publish, and that's where that is. And then, of course, you keep the minutes. And then as needed, remind members of renewals and different things. Let's see here. Remind members of renewals, notifying necessary charitable leaders of members who fail to renew. And we had a problem, not this year, but last year, we had somebody on our slate of officers that his membership had lapsed. And I had to remind him, I said, well, he can't, this guy can't be on the board since he's not a member of the society. And I said, and then one of the guys brought me, he said, wait a minute, I thought the society changed it where you could have non-members on your board. I said, yeah, and they do, I think, but I don't think this was the case. We wanted to use that. We wanted him to be a member. But they have changed it where you can have non-members on your chapter board. But most of the time that happens, I think there's a couple chapters that have that, and they've basically got non-members on there for financial support.
Yeah, it comes up pretty quick now too. If you don't pay your dues, 30 days later,
Yeah, you're gone.
We used to have 6 months to get people back on.
It used to be 180 days that would show up, and if you renewed that 180 days, it was just like a $3 late fee.
Yeah.
Now it's 30 days, and you're off the roll.
You have to reapply.
Yeah, I had to reapply and do everything.
Gotta look.
Yeah. Meeting responsibilities, announce the membership that a meeting's taking place. Yeah. And like I said, we have that on the calendar. And this is just design and publish the agenda with the chapter president, which is a good thing to do, because basically the board meeting is the president's meeting. And since you are the quote guy in the know, if he has any questions like, what do we need to bring up at the meeting, you could help him with that. But basically it's the chapter president's meeting. So you can just help him with the agenda. Yeah. If some other chapter member came to, we need to talk about this, and yeah, you can bring that up. And I love that during the meeting, you need to record accurate minutes, not just minutes, but accurate minutes.
Oh.
One thing I looked for when I became district secretary back in 2003, I looked for a book on how to keep minutes, and found out real quick there is no such book. And I finally found, and if I can find it, I'll send it to you if you want me to. It was a 2-page document by the professor at Florida State University on keeping minutes and why you keep them so brief and not just overly verbose. But basically, minutes are the actions of the board. Yeah. So if you have a meeting that nothing takes place, your minutes could be called to order at 7 o'clock. These were the people present. These were the people absent. No action taken. Adjourn. Yeah. And that would be legal minutes. We did have it one time. One year I flipped, became treasurer one year, and the guy that was treasurer became secretary. And he took the job as secretary as to be a court stenographer. He wrote down every word everybody said, and his minutes were sometimes 12, 14, 15 pages long. And I said, that's not necessary. I said, and I gave him that pamphlet the guy wrote. It was neat because he says in the pamphlet, be succinct, record the actions. Yeah, it's nice to know why people said that, but 20 years from now, it won't matter why they said that. It just matters that on this date, this action was passed and here's what was happening. He said, and also too, from a company standpoint, the less information you have there, the less somebody could hang you with.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay. But you want to basically in the minutes, as you know, you just want to make sure you record the actions. I mean, actions of the board. If something was passed and you need to record that. And one thing we do, a lot of things we'll we'll talk about, and we'll just say without any objection, this is what we're going to do. But we make it a rule in the district board meetings, and I'll do it in our chapter board meetings. If it involves money, it has to be a written motion.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we do. And they'll write it out by hand and hand it to me, and I'll read it back, and we'll put it in the minutes. But if it deals with money for the chapter, or we want to have it written down, and maybe a small explanation of why we're doing it, that doesn't hurt. And something else I learned from it too, it's not this I read from Robert's rules. It's not necessary to record who made the motion or who seconded it.
Yeah.
Just that the motion was made and seconded, and if it was passed or it failed. And that's another thing too. Society for years said all chapter board meetings would go by Robert's Rules of Order, which said you had to have a motion and a second and discussion on stuff. But about 5 years ago, they changed it where there was a Robert's Rules for small boards, which basically became sort of an informal thing. Like if you were discussing something, in the past, to do any discussion, you had to have a motion in a second, then you could discuss it.
Yeah.
But now it's just, we're thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? You can discuss it or whatever you want. And it just makes things go faster. And there was, I had to send this document to you, and you can look at it. It was funny. One thing he said in his document to make meetings go faster, he said, if you'll notice, the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate does the same thing. They'll bring up some motion, said without objection, the motion passes. And if you don't object like that, it's done.
It's a done deal.
And we did that in one of our meetings on Zoom. We're sitting there going, now how do we do this? I said, what you do is you say, without objection, motion passes. And he goes, I said, just try it one time. And somebody said, well, what was that? He goes, if you have an objection, you need to speak up. But if nobody has an objection, why wait? We're done. And that's how we did our slate for 2021, since we had 18 guys on the screen and everybody was muted and all this other stuff. I said, just say this, just tell them you're gonna try this, just without objection, and wait a few seconds. You say slate passes. And that's how we did it. And nobody seemed to have a big heartburn over it. So that's how we got our slate for this year. And for meetings, according to society rules for chapters, it used to be you would read the slate 3 times. Welcome back.
Thank you. My computer shut down and I just lost everything.
No. Well, the good thing about it, all this is being recorded, so
I can go back to get it. I know.
go back and listen to it if you want to. Used to be talking about elections and stuff. Used to say you had to read it 3 times. You'd read it 2 weeks before, a week before, and then the night of the vote you could vote. And the biggest reason that was, you read it 2 weeks before, so if anybody wanted to be nominated from the floor,
Yeah.
you could get that nomination in. But they changed it sometime back to you read it a week before. You read it twice before you vote on it. You can read it the week before, the night of, and then vote. Or if there has been a nomination from the floor, that's when you would add that in. And the nomination from the floor, you have to have the nomination and a letter or an email from the person nominated saying, yes, if he is elected, he would serve in that position. And then you would have the slate and the nomination from the floor. And that's memberships. And the biggest thing too, and this is one I'm very guilty of, is once you have your meeting, you should publish the minutes promptly, like within the next 2 to 3 days. Sometimes for me, it's a week later before I publish them, but you should, and I should too. Let's see here. Yeah, here's Robert's Rules of small boards. Use consensus rather than voting motions whenever possible. use motions in writing when dealing with all money matters. That's what we were just talking about. And it's a big thing too. If you could get your chapter officers to submit written reports before the meeting would go so much faster.
Yeah.
I can well remember when I was on the board of Big Chicken board meetings could go start at 7 o'clock, not get over to 11 o'clock at night. And you go, oh, and then I'd have to drive back home from all that. And you go, oh, can't just be quicker. So one thing the district used to do is when I first became the secretary, if the district officer did not submit his report at least 30 days before the meeting, it was an automatic $30 fine.
Oh,
Which went to youth programs, but it sort of gave an incentive to get your reports in. And then I think about 2008 or 9, we did away with that. They just said, we're not going to do that anymore. So what they have a sergeant at arms that brings up little charges all during the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, and at the end of the board meeting, each person has about $30 worth of fines they have to pay, and that goes to youth programs. It's sort of a neat thing sometimes when you get somebody that's real prolific in writing. You have the sergeant at arms report it, whereas such and such did such and such, whereas this. It's fun to listen to sometimes. Yeah, membership classifications. You notice right here in the middle, changed in 2021. And the biggest thing that changed, and this is what I wanted to look at on the website, is I did sort of a little analysis. I'd gotten word of this from the district secretary for the Central States District. Senior members, senior legacy, and 50-year members, that has changed. And I did a little analysis of the changes. It will affect about 181 members of the Dixie District out of the 510 members we have.
wow.
And what they've done is if you're a senior member now at 70 plus 10 years, and if you don't have 50 years of membership, guess what? You're just a regular member now, and your senior membership, they got you $0 from the society. You're now a regular member, and you will owe 140. And the 50-year member has changed. Now it's just if you've been a member for 50 years, period, your dues go away. So for a good example of that, I didn't realize, I read an article last week about Tony DeRosa from Tampa. He's been a member of society since he was 7 years old, and his father joined him up at age 7. So when he turns 57, he will be a 50-year member, and his society dues go to 0 as a fellow of Barbershop. And I'm hoping they come out with more information on this, because this change was sort of hidden in the announcement of the upgrade to the membership database.
Oh,
I saw the email they were talking about. It says we're upgrading the member side of it. And at the very bottom of that email, it says, oh, by the way, we're changing the memberships too.
Well, I know I'm between 70 and 75. And I got a notice that this year's won't change.
Oh, this year?
Next year.
Oh, it's coming up
Next year. I'll have to go to regular. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you got that, because we were wondering who did this go to, and I'm assuming it's going to everyone that it affects, the membership. I mean, and I said it would have been nice if they let the district secretaries know when the question came up, we could explain to people what's going on, but they didn't do that.
so Russ, again, a senior member for 2021 is going to be what?
75.
75. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, but if you're used to paying nothing and all of a sudden there, bam, 75. And also too, we'll get to this in a second. from what I read in there too, they're doing away with the easy dues,
Oh, yeah.
Really?
which I'm a member of that, which I like, which for me, it comes out to like 23 bucks a month. They charge a credit card. But if they're
Yeah.
doing away with that, I can see people where that would affect them. Where all of a sudden, yeah, they were paying $15, $16 a month. All of a sudden, no, you owe us the full amount at one time.
Ooh,
We found that younger people liked it because it didn't hit them so hard,
Yeah,
and they didn't have as much income. So
yeah,
and that just may make some people decide to drop.
yeah. If you're sitting there, because I looked at some guy, there was one membership I looked on there that when I could still see it, I could see that person. He was like a member of 2 or 3 districts and 8 or 9 chapters and the society. If all of a sudden you're used to paying, if that, he'd be paying like 45, 50 bucks a month on a credit card, and all of a sudden you get a bill for, I'm sorry, we're not doing that anymore. You now owe $475 tomorrow. We're like, well, I'll
Yeah.
just drop it all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I want to put here. We have all these membership classifications, and this one is changing, this one is changing, this one is changing.
A 50-year one.
Yeah.
So what's the qualification for a 50-year member now, or isn't there any?
Just you're a 50-year member. You don't have to be a certain age, just 50-year member.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, isn't that the same as it has been?
Yeah, I think it may be, but
Yeah.
it is the same. Regular senior member with 50+ years service. And,
Yeah.
but they're changing the name of that. If I remember correctly, it's a society fellow now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
But your society dues go to 0 at 50 years.
Yeah. So that question,
Uh-huh.
I haven't seen it yet, but that question for a senior member who is a senior right now, but he's 71 years old, then he goes back to being a regular member for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It may impact them. It may impact them. Like I said, when I went through the list, I identified like 181 members of the district that this would affect. Some of it affects a great way because some of them were regular members and they dropped into the 50-year category, so they're just to go the other way. 10-minute warning.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens? Okay.
And then some guys it would affect maybe 1 year, and then some guys it wouldn't affect all. Some guys would affect greatly. But yeah, just be aware that in 2021 this is changing.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And then here's effective classification. This was what they did. And I think the senior member now it's at what you said, Don, at 75. Hope his computer doesn't reboot again. He's frozen. On my screen anyway. And then and then there's the golden old. If you've been a member for 35 years, you can request a badge saying you're going to. They don't just automatically send it to you.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, this I don't think the youth changes. It's just a senior membership. There would be some tweaks to that. So just be aware of that. If somebody comes up and asks you after Monday, we can go online and look and see what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-oh. Don's computer must have froze again. The new member application process. As I said, most of the time I let our membership secretary do this. But there's a form online that you can download. I think you can even fill it out online to be a member. I'm hoping that stays the same. You'll be able to fill that online even with the membership updates. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. And then, like I said, this is changing. I don't know if it's going away or going to replace it with something else, but that in that email, the email that I saw said they were getting away the easy dues payment. They may be replacing it with something else, maybe something else in this new Salesforce application they have where you can update it yourself and they don't have to do it. But I hope it doesn't go away because I could see some people where it would affect their renewal.
Yeah, that's can be helpful.
Yes.
Oh,
And I liked it because it's done. I don't have to worry about renewing or anything. It's just done automatically.
any idea when that is actually supposed to happen? As of the first of this month or the first?
What the I thought it was effective January 1.
Yeah.
But and it sort of makes me sort of concerned because I don't know if you may not realize it. As secretary of the district, I'm the one. Well, in the old system anyway, I'm the one that would go into the system and update what the dues were for the district. And to get that done, I had to do it at least 60 days in advance.
Yes.
But
Same for
I guess the society being society, they can do it 6 minutes in advance.
Uh,
Yeah, who knows?
There'll be some changes made.
Yeah, we've heard that before. And then reinstatement of memberships, it's $10 reinstatement fee. Like I said, I'm assuming some of these things won't change. I'm assuming they'll stay the same. But as you said, Tom, it used to be they were sitting out there for 6 months, and now it's 30 days.
Yeah. Surprise. Yep.
Yeah.
Gonna.
Chapter required filings. Let's see here. Chapters must update their BHS member center profile noting their status with their state. Yeah, well, again, with the new system, I'm not sure, but there was a place where when you did your 990, you could update under the chapter of when it was filed and who filed it. Your financial review, you can put up there, and your Secretary of State notification, you can put up there as well. With the new system, I'm assuming that stays, but we may need to have another class sometime in March once all this comes online to see what we do.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like I say, next week, I can look at it now that my daughter goes back to school tomorrow and I'll be at home by myself. Let's see, your incorporation. Yeah, each chapter has to be incorporated in their state, and it's your responsibility to make sure that treasurer is paid for that. And as we said, Alabama doesn't require it. I think Tennessee does require it on a yearly basis. I know Georgia does. I'm not sure about Mississippi, but right now we don't have any chapters in Mississippi. So basically the 3 states we worry about is Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee, and we know those. Yeah. And you want to make sure you keep their filing up to date and stay a 501c3, because recently, well, I'll say recently, I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago now, used to, when you became a 501c3, there was no fees. Now the IRS charges like $500 to be a 501c3. That's just the first time paperwork. And if you ever lapse and go back to a regular company to get your 501c3 back, it's a $500 fee. So it sort of encourages people to keep on the ball to make sure your filing is up to date.
Yeah, it would.
And the 990, most of the chapters, unless you just have a tremendous year in revenue, it's like a postcard, basically saying, yes, we're here. We didn't do anything big, but and I think our chapter secretary does it, and it takes him like 5 minutes to do it. This year was really easy since everything's been shut down since March 12th. The legal files. Let's see, we got 2 minutes to go. Legal files. You as secretary, these are the things you need to have in your files. Chapter license and charter, which, to tell you the truth, I have no idea where our chapter license and charter is for the Atlanta Vocal Project. And I've basically been a board member since we were a chapter. I've not always been secretary, but I think Rick Word has that since he was the one that filed it. The certificate of continued existence, that's basically your filing with the Secretary of State, saying, yes, we've paid and we are still a legal chapter. Your standard chapter bylaws, and you can download those from the society. You may hear something talking in the background. It's a clock. All of a sudden, it thinks I'm talking to it. Your chapter rules and regulations and all these insurance records. I'll let you read. Y'all don't have to read this to you. If there's any, like if you have a director's contract, you would keep track of that, and you keep copies of all your BMI and CSAC licenses. Thank goodness we don't have to do CSAC in the United States. That's Canadian. That's Canadian, and in Canadian you have to list every song you're singing on the license.
Wow.
We just pay the $28 to BMI and say, here.
Yep. Good to go.
Yep. And here's how long you keep records. This is a nice little thing to have.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, why don't we just wait right here, because I see in 18 seconds we're going back to the main room.
Okay.
Stop sharing.
Okay.
Oh. Jim's got a nice collection of hats back there. Your screen looks frozen, Tom. There you go. Yeah, I saw movement. You're on mute.
I got something goofy going on here. I was trying to scroll back and forth between screens. Now I got half of my screen has got something about Chico's off the rack or something here. Something my wife has done.
You got a nice collection of hats back there, Jim.
I don't know how to get rid of this thing. Unless I just, well, I can live without it, I guess.
Okay. Back to this lovely slide. I guess we've lost Don completely. I didn't see him come back into the breakout rooms or anything, but I guess we've lost him completely. As I said, we're recording again, so he'll be able to get it from the recording. In general, this is everything you need to keep. And then, as you say, some of the stuff you keep forever. The minutes of the annual meeting, that's basically your election, so you keep those forever. And if you did, yeah, just good. I keep this on a spreadsheet, a record of community service and free performances. I just keep a running spreadsheet of those. I don't see any need to keep individual pieces of paper of all that. Of course, if you've got a scanner, I guess you could scan it into a document, and many printers are double the scanners these days, so you could do that. Oh, okay. I just got a message from Liz says, don't, to everyone, just in case you were missing some people, don't forget to record. So we're recording. So, but yeah, this, like as I said at the beginning, well, I'll be sending all of this PowerPoint presentation out to you, and you have this for reference. But this is basically everything you need to keep and how long you need to keep it. There we go. Yeah, the chapter elections must be held by October 15th. I think they need to change that, if at all possible, be held by October 15th, because there are some that don't. And one little funny story, years and years ago, if you remember when we had COTS, and we had it in Dixie District, we had it down in Jonesboro at a Holiday Inn. We had it there for years. Chris Beekler, who's been, I think he's been the secretary of the Mid-Atlantic District for like 30 years now. He was teaching the class, and I was just walking in there looking around because I was helping with the running of the school. And there was one guy just feverishly taking notes on everything he said, and he stopped for a second and says, "Why are you taking all these notes?" He said, "Well, we haven't. This was January." He said, "Well, we haven't had elections yet." And he goes, "You haven't had elections yet?" He goes, "Yeah, we usually don't have elections till February." He goes, and he reminded him, he says, "You do know you're supposed to have those by October." He goes, "Oh, we've always had them in February." So, and then there was another guy who had a recorder recording everything, and he asked a question. He goes, "So what their chapter, what they did, I forget which chapter it was. I never knew which chapter it was. They voted on president, and then the president appointed the rest of the board."
Oh, really?
And Chris looked at him and goes, "You do realize," he said, "how long has that been going on?" He says, "Oh, we've been doing that for 10 or 15 years. He says, "I hate to say this, but you do realize that nothing your board has passed for that 10 or 15 years is legal." He goes, "What?" He goes, "No, the president doesn't get to appoint the whole board. The president gets to appoint vacancies on the board, not the board itself." So there's always that. But yeah, you have elections in October, and one of, and it's funny, it used to be, I think it's changed now. It used to be one of the first jobs as secretary-elect, even before you became, after the election, before January 1, when you actually took office, you got the incoming president to appoint the nominating committee for the next year. That was that was a president-elect's job before he ever even became president. And now it's changed. It said in January they should set the nominating committee. And it's usually 3 members of the chapter. They don't have to be board members, just 3 members of the chapter.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things our chapter president this year asked each board member, "What are you going to do in 2021 to make things run smoother?" And I told him as secretary, I said, "I'm going to hold your feet to the fire more on things we're supposed to be doing when we're supposed to be doing them." I said, "We won't have elections in December this year. We will have them in October when they're supposed to happen." And he said, "Okay." This is the same president this year was president last year. So I said, "I'm going to hold your feet to the fire a little bit more, and my feet to the fire too." And you're supposed to update officers by December 15th of each year. And one thing that was taught to me by Antonio, who used to be member services at the society, when you put a new officer in, don't put an end date, just let it keep going. So if that officer gets reelected for the next year, there's nothing you have to update. Only thing you have to update, if somebody is leaving office and somebody else is coming in, you have to put an end date on his service and add the new person in and put his begin service date in. So I don't know if that's going to happen in this new membership database or not, but that's something I did because this year we had one new person come on board, one go off. So it made it a whole lot easier when I updated officers. I only had to update 2 people. Had to end the service of one at December 31st and had to begin the service of the other one on January 1 of this year.
Yeah. We just carried all of ours over from 2020 to 2021, but I had end dates on everybody, so I had to go
Yeah.
through each one.
Yeah, that was one thing that that was something Antonio was suggesting about 4 years ago. Said, don't put it in, and I was sort of against that because what had happened in the old system, eBiz, when they had that a long time ago, that they automatically, if nothing was changed, they automatically rolled officers forward.
Oh,
And the problem that caused was it caused it with Troy, Alabama. Troy, Alabama used to have a chapter. They haven't had a chapter in like 4 years. And at the point where I was saying you don't need to roll them over automatically, they did not realize that. And the guy that was president on Troy, Alabama's chapter showing online hadn't even been a member of that chapter for 3 years.
oh,
But it came to the end of the year and the society just rolled last year's officers forward. And I said, and I'm like you, Tom, for years, even though he said, don't put an end date, I always put an end date because it sort of made you responsible for going and make sure everything was up to date.
right. Doesn't hurt. Only takes a few minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long. And so, but that was one thing they suggested years ago, and finally I succumbed to it. And the biggest thing here on elections is by secret ballot, and then, like I say, unless there are no nominations from the floor. If you've just got the slate of officers the nomination committee put forward, you can. And we've done this before when I would read everything before the chapter go into a meeting. I would just tell one of the guys, okay, when I get finished reading the slate, since there's no one contesting it, just make a motion to accept by acclamation. And they said, well, and they would make motion and second, and we would vote, and it would be done. I said, there's no need to do all this motion, second, and discuss all this stuff. Since we had just a slate, and there's no one contesting it, just get back to singing. That was the biggest thing. Get back to singing.
Yeah, really.
And we do this in the district as well as chapter. When officer resigns replaced, you should update the member information as quick as you can, because there's certain emails that go out and depend on that. And one thing the president can do, if a vacancy comes, the president can appoint someone to fill that vacancy. And you don't really have to, but we always thought it was a good idea. We do it at district level too. If someone fills a vacancy, the district president appoints that person, but he always gets the rest of the board to ratify his appointment. I think it's not technically necessary, but it's just a nice thing that, yeah, he appointed him and everyone else agrees with it. So you just have that in minutes.
Yep.
That's one of the big things. It's good to have you back, Don.
Thank you.
I hope your computer behaves the rest of the time.
I don't really know what's going on, but it went all the way down both times.
Oh, wow.
That's why it took so long to get back in.
It's a computer. It knows when you really need it. And it says,
Yeah.
I'm going to mess with you.
Well, I told Melissa a little bit ago, I said, this time if it kicks me out again, I'm just going to go in a little later
Yeah.
and look
And
at the
look at
recordings.
look at the recordings. Yeah, that's one thing we were saying a while ago. It said your computer went away. I said, well, at least we have the recordings, so he can get those later on. But like I said, if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me anytime. And then here's the youth policy it talks about. Parent and guardian, and this is something I didn't know for a long time. On the youth policy, say for example, and I can give you a good example. When we had the district contest in Tunica, Mississippi, one of our members was 17. And you know, in a casino, that's a big no-no.
Oh,
And the only way this member could get to the contest venue is he had to have someone assigned to him to walk him across the floor. He felt so goofy. He said, here I am, 17, I can drive, I can do this. I'm almost in college, but I can't walk across this floor. So, and I didn't know this for a long time. When, say if you have a 17-year-old or 16-year-old that's going with you on different things, you have to have the youth policy. You have to have a guardianship filed for each activity. You can't file one for the year and that covers everything.
oh.
So your chapter had a show in March. You'd have to have one for March where you could sing on the show. And say for June you were going to walk around and sing at a mall. You'd have to have one filled out for that. You have to have one filled out for each event. And that was something I didn't know for a long time. I thought, well, once you've signed out one for the year, that's it for the year. No, it's the parent or guardian must complete and sign a youth policy participation form for each event, each activity. Now, the one they sign at the beginning of the year that says it can come to rehearsals, yeah, you don't have to have one for each week he comes to rehearsal, but any activity outside of normal rehearsal, they have to have that form signed each time. And as secretary, we're the ones that keep track of that.
Okay.
And then the insurance policy, this is the one that protects the chapter. The treasurer gets this at the beginning of the year, and basically the chapter insurance policy is based, I'm not sure what it is now, but at one time it was like $7 per member is what you paid. And what that does, that basically covers your chapter for just general liability insurance. Say you have a show and one of your members falls off the back of the risers, that would cover them. No, it would not cover them. It would cover the chapter for any liability on that. It wouldn't cover that person. That person's insurance would cover them. In case they were to come back and sue, the insurance would cover the chapter. It doesn't cover any equipment, but it does cover the chapter for that, and the chapters cannot get out of that. And a funny story about that, I don't know if you remember back when we had a contest in Gatlinburg, I believe it was, or maybe Chattanooga, when they would try to get as many people to sign up as members of the chapter and sing on the show. This one year it was
Roswell did that.
a chapter, yeah. Peachtree did that. I mean, not Peachtree, but North Atlanta did that. There was a Rocky Mount up in North Carolina did that one year. Their normal membership was like 19 folks. They put 116 on stage at that contest. They're sitting there, and as secretary, I'm looking at all this stuff online, and all of a sudden December comes around, and they're showing like 174 members. And about a week and a half later, they show back 19. I'm going like, uh-oh, what happened here? And what happened was they suddenly realized that, oh my gosh, come January 1, they're going to bill us insurance on 175 guys. And we don't have $6 per 175 guys to pay for this. So they called Drew Ellis, at the time worked in the society headquarters, and just dropped all those memberships that they had back in October for that contest. So they would get billed the 19 folks that they normally have rather than 175.
Yeah.
So that's how that's determined. It's based on your membership as of January 1.
Yeah. I wonder if Roswell had that problem. They did something similar to that years ago.
Yeah, they I think they did that too. But I remember they were doing one. Where was it? Where they more or less was charging $5 even 5 minutes before they went on stage. I mean, it was like they had people sitting on the front of the stage and everything. That was, I think that was a Dave Philo thing.
Probably. We still got a couple of those guys.
Yeah, they did some crazy things. It was fun to watch them.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about insurance is, like I said, if you have, it covers the chapter for any accidents and stuff. There are some chapters I don't know, I haven't seen it lately, but there used to be some chapters when we didn't allow women as members. They would have paid membership of maybe 16 or 17, but they'd have 8 or 9 or 10 other people that would come sing, and they would consider those chapter members. A bad thing about that is if one of those folks came on a regular basis and got hurt in risers, from Tom Hine being the insurance person, he said it would not have covered the chapter if those people had gotten hurt. You got to beat them halfway. You got to at least pay for it.
Yeah.
But that's a big thing in the chapter secretary. I mean, chapter treasurer gets the billing for that. And basically you just need to keep a record of it, showing that yes, he has paid it and how much he paid. Just another one of those little records to keep. And a lot of times when you do a show, or most of the time I know when we do shows, whatever the venue is, I will do one at the Roswell Performing Arts Center, and they always ask us for a insurance certificate, naming them as the insured party. And it used to be a real pain to do. It's not hard anymore. There's a form that you fill out on from the society website, and you just send it to customer service at barbershop.org. Or no, they may change it. They may change it back. I'm not sure. This is another one of those things we may need to look at when the new membership database comes online. But it was a form. I forget who the name of the company was. Your form you'd fill out, and you would enter everything on it and send it to them. And usually you got a certificate within like 24 hours. I mean, it was a quick turnaround, which was very nice.
Right.
I would send that off to our VP of shows who was dealing with the venue, and they would file it, and everything was fine. But yeah, that's something else you need to keep track of, the certificates for insurance for venues. And here's the bonding insurance I was talking about. Every chapter, the employee dishonesty policy, you can't opt out of it. Used to the big thing was, like I was saying earlier, you name everyone that handles money in your first minutes of the year. Mm-hmm. That is, I think it's not necessarily. It changed it here. It says non-members must be cited in minutes for the bond to carry. That's where you would do like we do. We have one of our guys' wives handles refreshments at our shows, and that's why we list her in the minutes. That way the bond will cover her too, if she were to abscond with funds.
Yeah.
Which is much fun. Last time we had refreshments at a show, we didn't really advertise it much. I think we made like $8. But anyway. But yeah, that's what the bonding's for. I knew there was a change somewhere. Used to, you had to list everybody. Now the chapter board is automatically covered by the bonding insurance. You just need to list non-members to make sure they're covered by the bond. And it's one of those things too. Somebody said, well, should we list so-and-so? I said, we can list as many people as we need to. If they handle money, we should list everybody. I'd rather have too many people listed there than, oh, you didn't list them? Well, sorry, you're out that money. And then the property insurance, that is one that is not automatic, it's optional. You contact society about that. Say if you want to insure your risers or your trailer, or if you have sound equipment, you would email customer service and say, this is what we have. Well, I guess Don's computer says it's not going to play anymore.
Oh, gee whiz. A rough day for Don.
Yeah, rough day for him. But it wouldn't. This is something Big Chicken should probably had in Huntsville a couple of years ago when they got their trailer stolen out of the parking lot in Huntsville with all their risers and everything.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And it was sad because I was talking to somebody and they said the policeman came to him and said, yeah, it probably happened about 3:30 this morning. He goes, why is that? He goes, well, at 3 o'clock is when the shift change is for the security guard. I'm going like, and you know this on a regular basis, that's when stuff gets stolen at 3:30. Why don't you change your shift change then? But yeah, that was the second time Big Chicken's trailer had gotten stolen. It was stolen the first time back in I want to say 95.
Gee whiz.
And we never recovered it. And I'm pretty sure they didn't recover this one either. Like I said, if you have equipment or anything like sound equipment or risers you want insured, the society, you can email customer service and they will provide you with information how much it costs insured. I don't think it is a huge amount, but if it's something your chapter wants to look into, I mean, it'd be hard to replace risers on the spot.
Yeah.
And here's insurance claims. And this is a big one. Of course, if you worked in corporate world or anytime there's any claims or insurance, anything, it's a do not talk to anyone. It's sort of like minutes. If you don't say anything, they can't hold it against you. And that's the biggest thing is they of course want to make themselves whole. They don't want to pay out any more than they have to. If something happens, you file a claim with them and just basic information, they'll get in touch with you. And if something needs to be said, then they will direct it to be said. And then there's ASCAP BMI for U.S. chapters only. And I don't know about your chapter. Every year we're supposed to pay an ASCAP fee. I think this year, as our treasurer told me last week, it's $250. Yeah, that's the minimum. He said, and most everybody has to pay that. That's if you have a show. Well, I don't know about your chapter, but in 2020, we had no shows, no public performances of any kind, so we didn't pay it.
Same here.
Yeah. And I guess unless things drastically change and this vaccine just goes great guns, we probably won't have anything to pay in 2021 either. I hope it's not the case.
Yeah, really.
Because I'd like to see some of you folks.
Have you guys decided what the criteria will be when you start meeting in person again?
We have started working on that. One big thing is for the state of Georgia, or the Atlanta area anyway, where the cases have to be below like 8%. Right now, I forget what it is, but we said cases have to be below 8% and on a downward trend. And right now we're not meeting because it's cold. We've been trying to find a place that's huge and large enough that we could spread out. And luckily, my church has a gym that we could meet inside, and 16 of us could spread out on a basketball floor pretty good. Yeah. But we would, if it was indoors, we would still require the singer's mask. It still require temperature below 100 and some other things. But somebody even floated the idea is when vaccines are available, we have to require them to have a vaccine to come to rehearsal. I said, I'm not sure I want to go that far.
That, to me personally, is a definitive thing. If I get vaccinated, I'm ready to go. But if you're not, I don't really want to sing with you.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I can see that. And I went on. There was a website. I saw it a couple right before Christmas that you could go to that website and put in your age and this and this and this and this, and it would show you how far down the pecking order you were for the virus, for the vaccine.
Yeah.
I was 278 millionth. So I said, that's pretty good since there's only 325 million in the US and a lot of those are kids. I guess most everybody else in this country will have it before I'm required to get it.
You must have been the last one.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Just looking
I'm
right
going
now.
to get, as soon as I'm eligible to get it, I'm going to get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and I saw I don't know if you may have seen it too. I saw a Moderna news story the other day saying Moderna says their vaccination is probably good for 2 to 3 years. That would be nice. But yeah, and but yeah, as soon as it's available to me, as soon as because I've already gotten a couple of emails from CVS down the street said when it's available, we will email you. I said, thank you.
Yes.
I will get it.
We haven't been able to find anything that would notify us yet. We've got stuff, of course, Alabama, but oh well, we're noticing it's going to be a while.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we were talking about our chapter. It says, do we require everybody to have the vaccine? I said, well, if it was generally available and everyone could get it anytime they wanted, yes, I would say that. But right now, I would like to have the vaccine, but I can't even get it.
Yeah.
Right. So we would still do, if we were to, one of our guidelines to meet in person is you still have to wear the singer's mask, your temperature, you can't have a fever, and we distance everybody 10 to 12 feet apart, even with the masks on. And ideally, we wait till it's a bit warmer so we can do it outside. But and we have board meetings, quick little meetings like every other week. Our chapter does, and we've all talked about it. Says I don't see anything happening before March for us even contemplating an in-person rehearsal.
So, are you guys? What are you thinking about singing Valentine's?
Well, it's interesting. We were talking about that at our chapter meeting last Thursday night. What we plan on doing is having the whole chorus individually record either "I love you truly" or "Let me call you sweetheart" and send it in to one person, and he's going to make a recording of that and offer to the folks to maybe do if and we haven't even set prices or anything like that yet. Offer to them if they want to put like a text message to who they want to send it to, have that text message scroll across as we're singing in the background, and give them a link that they can download that. But that's just in the planning stages with Clay and Ryan Fuller and Tim Reynolds right now.
I think the Chicken is having a quartet.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we were talking to Ben McDaniels on our Zoom meeting the other night. He was talking about it's a Big Chicken, and I think Stone Mountain is sort of piggybacking off Big Chicken's thing, where they do a quartet and then have it where they can put just like a text message to so and so from so and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know there were a lot. I know there's some chapters. I know like in the Carolinas, Pinehurst chapter used to. I don't know about last year, but last year probably didn't. Or it may have because it was in February. Pinehurst chapter used to make $7,000-8,000, and I think the Augusta chapter used to make big money on singing Valentine's.
Wow.
Birmingham did too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of chapters. Our chapter, our big money maker was a Christmas show. A lot of chapters, Valentine's is your big money maker,
Hmm.
and yeah, that just sort of just with COVID just sort of shuts that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. As we were talking about ASCAP and stuff, you'd the BMI show clearance, you would just you can if you have Adobe, you may not have Adobe, you can just um, send it to me without filling it out. I'll sign my part, and you can send it back to you, and you can sign your part, and then scan it back to me, and or scan it to me once it's signed, and we'll go from there. You still have to submit to me the payment made out to BHS. But
Yeah.
like I said, right now that's not a big concern.
Right. That might not come up.
Yeah, hopefully that will change. Yeah, there's a show clearance process. And yeah, this where it says completed 3 copies. No, just send me one. I can make copies if we need to. Used to be it was a huge stack of forms. It was white, gold, pink, and blue. And some people got hung up on the color stuff and finally just said, just send me the thing. I'll make as many copies as I need.
Good for you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got, and and if you've looked at the district bylaws and thing, we got rid of the date protection clause.
Mhm.
We got rid of that. Oh, I think
Years ago.
probably 10 years ago now. Yeah, that was sort of through a metamorphosis too, because originally the date protection clause said anything within 100 miles, you had to get permission from anybody. And then they changed it to 50 miles. Then they changed it to 25 miles, and then we just did away with it. Yeah. It's funny, there are 2 conditions. To me, there should be 3, but there's 2 conditions where you have to get permission to sing on a certain date. If your chapter show or the show is on the same weekend as a district function, say for example, you're having a show and it's the same weekend as Dixie District Contest,
Mhm.
You have to get permission from the Dixie board to do that. That happened one time. Charleston requested a show clearance. I forget what it was. It was on the same date as the Dixie District Contest in Knoxville. And I wrote back to him and said, sorry, I have to deny your request. And he called me. He goes, why? I said, well, it's the same weekend as the Dixie District Contest. He goes, we're not going. We haven't gone for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I said, I'll put it before the board. And they approved it. Said, we would really like you to have you at contest, but if you're not going to be there, we don't want to deprive you of making money. So they did clear it. The only other clearance request is if the show is within 500 miles of international. Say, for example, international was in Atlanta, and you were going to have a show. Y'all quit talking about Paul. He's in here now. If your show was going to say international is going to be in Atlanta and you were going to have a show the same weekend, 4th of July weekend, if it's within 500 miles of international, you got to get society board approval to have a show. But that's the only requirements for show date clearance is if it's within 500 miles of international, or if it's the same weekend as the Dixie District Contest or something. And it's funny. If say for example, if Midwinter was in Jacksonville and you had a show in Jacksonville, you don't need permission then, you can have a show. They left that one out of the society. It's only international. It doesn't say anything about Midwinter. I'm more like, I got a feeling that was just sort of left out by accident, but
Yeah.
that's the way it's been. And yeah, show clear. As soon as you know you're going to have a show, just send the form to me and we'll get that going.
Yeah.
But and hopefully we'll start getting some of those this year. Right, Paul? Oh, wow. And this, like I said, this is simplified too. The ASCAP process is greatly simplified since we just pay the $250. We're basically done with it for the year. That's if you have
Yeah.
any shows. If you don't have any, if you're not doing any performances of any kind, you don't owe the money. I mean, yeah. And I would think the biggest chapters that the formula goes into process for would be somebody like maybe the vocal majority, because that $250 covers the minimum, which is I think $45,000 for a show.
It's pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty high, and I'm sure over a week of shows, the vocal majority, when they do their Christmas shows and or the shows, they probably hit 45,000 pretty regularly. So their ASCAP fee is probably a little bit higher than most of the other chapters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a formula to figure out for all that. Once you do your show, I forget what it is. Even if you did a free show, there's a minimum amount due. But like I said, the minimum each chapter pays, the district covers that as well. Show venue and talent. Yeah, this is something you can sort of never sign a contract with talent or venue until a show date is approved by the district secretary. Since we did away with the date protection clause, 99.9% of your shows are going to be approved, like I said, except for if it's the same weekend as contest or the society has to get involved, which I don't know many people have shows on 4th of July or that weekend. But you really should have a talent contract, because I've known chapters that have gotten sort of hit after the fact. Says, well, we didn't realize we were going to pay that too. So if you have it all written in a contract, it's all pretty much there. And that's another one of those forms that as secretary we would be keeping. And it talks about it. Yes, sir.
Did you see that email from Jim Sams about the change in 1099s?
No.
Apparently,
when was it sent?
within the last couple of days.
No, I haven't seen it.
Apparently, there is a new Form 1099 for non-employee compensation, which is what we pay to Cortex and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a specific Form 1099 NEC, not the 1099 miscellaneous that we've been using.
Oh, okay.
But that just, like I say, that just crossed my desk in the last couple of days.
Okay, I'll look and see if it's not in my junk folder or something. I'll look for that email. Or maybe even go to the IRS website and look it up there too.
All right.
Yeah, I'll update this slide presentation with that. Thanks. And it's if you pay someone $600 or more, you have to do a 1099 for them. And like I said, keep a copy of that for your permanent records. So if we were to get audited, and they said, well, they said they never got it, you say, well, yes, you did.
Yeah.
And then here's a lovely copyright. It's as we all know, it's one. If you buy 75 copies of music, 75 copies of music is all you can have. Even if some guy says, well, wait a minute, I had mine in my shirt pocket and my wife washed it, and now it's just a big wad of paper. Sorry, if you make that 76th copy, you still need to pay for it. And and the biggest thing on this is I don't this is just me personally and talking to someone else has done this before. I don't think they're just going to come down like a hammer on you and say, okay, you only paid for 85 copies. I see 87 copies. I think it's more or less the ones where, and to give a good example of this, a church in the town next to us in Bremen, Georgia, years and years and years ago, got hit with copyright infringement because what their church choir did, they bought like 6 pieces of music from the Bill Gaither trio, but they only bought 1 copy of those 6 pieces of music and made 85 copies of that music for their choir.
Hmm.
And technically, for copyright infringement like that, they at that time they could have charged them $10,000 per copy to make an example of them. I think the church got off with like a $5,000 fine and had to go buy the rest of the music, which I think the publishing house, I don't think it was Hal Leonard at that time. It was the Gaither trio that sort of made an example of them and said, don't do this again. So they sort of learned, but yeah, you just, the biggest thing, and also too, in any contest, as you well know, the society has taken the stance like, if you're going to sing it on stage, you better legally own it.
Yeah.
Which is good. It protects the music writers, it protects the songwriters, it protects us as well. I mean, it protects the society as well, because I could see it, somebody sing a song at international and it just brings down the house, and all of a sudden they put it on all their recordings and come find out, whoops, they didn't legally own that music. Now the society has to go back and get all the information for that. So it's good to have it legal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And like I said, when you do the copyright stuff, you can, Janice Bain, she's great to work with. Years and years ago, the society, I was doing the legalization for Big Chicken Chorus back in 93 through 97. And we would fill out the form, the society, and put everything on it. And it was funny. The song Big Chicken sang in 1993, we filled out the paperwork and I just forgot about it. In 1997, I get a letter back from society saying, okay, it's legal to sing that song. I'm going like, well, that's great. We sang it 4 years ago. and at that point, I decided that from that point on, I decided that when we sing a piece of music, I would go online and see who actually owned the copyright of it. And 90% of the music that Clay did at that time was either controlled by Warner Music, which was Chappell, or Hal Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just directly go to them, and I would usually get permission to arrange within like 3 weeks.
Oh.
The one that was the hardest was the big medley we sang in Toronto, which was the Tony Bennett medley.
Oh.
There were 14 songs in that medley, and you got to get all 14 of them cleared. Luckily, out of the 14, 6 were public domain. One, I finally found, it's a lady in Van Nuys, California, that held the copyright on one of the songs. I think it was Chicago by Tony Bennett. And I finally got her and called her on the phone and said, we're doing a medley of Tony Bennett songs. We would like to use this song. She said, send me an email and you have permission. So I immediately sent her an email and didn't hear anything back for a week. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Finally, another couple of days went by and I got an email back from her. Says, you have my permission to sing this song. Make Tony proud. And I immediately made 5 copies of that email, gave one to Clay, gave one to our treasurer. I kept 3 in my file in case anybody ever came back. But those medleys, that medley, like I said, 14 songs, 6 were public domain, 1 was free from her, but it still cost us $1,200
Yeah.
to get that song cleared, because $45 for permission to arrange, and then 85 copy, or well, it was big, it was AVP at that time. 45 copies at $2 a copy for each song. So it got expensive. And I told Clay, I said, please don't do medleys anymore.
Yeah, let's cool it on the medleys there.
Yeah, but he loved them. But that's the biggest thing, and just keep records of all that. The poem, and yeah, if you ever do a recording, you have to get permission to, well, you get permission to sing the song, then you get permission to make a mechanical recording, and then you pay per time of each song on the CD or however you produce it.
Yeah.
So it can get expensive quick, and it's a lot of paperwork you got to keep track of, but it's not impossible.
What do you mean per time?
Well, when Big I didn't deal with it, Big Chicken's recordings. When AVP did their first Christmas CD, if a song was less than 5 minutes long, it was a certain amount. Anything over 5 minutes, you paid a different amount for a mechanical license. And that's most of our songs were less than 5 minutes, so it came out something like 9 cents per song. But you say, well, that's not much. Well, you got 9 cents for 11 songs. That's 99 cents. You got 5,000 CDs. That's $5,000.
Yeah.
Or 1,000 CDs. We didn't do 5,000. We did 1,000 CDs. And
Still.
but yeah, it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of headache to keep track of. And at one time, we were going to put ours on iTunes. That's expensive. You got to get an aggregator to put it out there for you, and it's like so much a month they charge you, and if you don't sell enough of them, you'll be losing money the whole time. And at that time, it was 99 cents per song. iTunes was charging, and I think you got a quarter. You got 25 cents. So to pay an aggregator is like $49 a month. That's a lot of 25-cent songs you got to sell just to break even.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's the copyright stuff, and copyright is strange. I think now, since we're in 2021, it's now on a sane moving schedule, and it's copyright material. Anything before, I think 1929 is now public domain.
Oh, is it really?
For the most part. And now the copyright is, if you wrote the song, it's copyright is in your estate up until 70 years after your death.
Yeah. Yeah. Disney has done a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah. And that's part of that's, I think they call it the Sonny Bono rule. I think he got that put in there.
Yep, because corporations never die.
Right. And it's say, for example, Lerner and Lowe write a song, and if they were alive and did it now, it's whichever one dies last, it's 70 years after that person's death, it becomes public domain. And I was reading a book. I got the book from the Society about Public Domain. I was reading some stuff online when they were going through all these changes of this and this. There were several movies that came out. I mean, several. I say blockbuster, but they were popular movies at the time, like the Friday the 13th movies. One of those came out and was public domain the day it was viewed on screen. Because at that time, to get copyright, you had to register it under the name it was going to be displayed as. And the working title was something else, and they changed the name of the movie 2 days before release and never updated the paperwork. So when it was premiered on screen, it was public domain. Anybody could have used it. But they've changed all the laws since then. Now it's they finally got it pared down. It's more uniform now. So the biggest thing is copyrighted works before, I think, like I say, in songs written before 1929 or something. It used to be up for several years. It was 1925, and then when so many years came, it was going to be public domain. But I saw something online about 2 years ago said 2020 or 2019 was the magic point for music, because after that point, then a lot of older stuff became public domain, and you would see a lot more remakes of older music. That's the biggest thing. Just don't make illegal copies, or if you do, if you make more copies, make sure you got track of it and pay for it. And usually, additional copies is not that much more expensive to pay for. Usually, it's like $1 a copy over that. And you need to remind guys that, yeah, you got a copy of the piece of music at the beginning. If you destroy it, you can't replace it. And that's the same thing. You have to get another copy. That's their big thing is just because you had 42 copies and 6 got destroyed, you can't replace those 6 copies. You got to buy 6 new copies.
Okay.
There it is.
Oops, oh, yeah, 50 grand, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the contest entry process. Hopefully we get to use that sometime. It'd be nice if we get to use it. Yeah, as chapter secretary, you, I think, and the music VP have, it says ability, have the rights to go in and register your course for contests. And I'm not sure about Barbershop right now. Barbershop, I know, has undergone a bunch of changes, and they're still working on it because the guy who originally wrote it didn't like something and left and pulled a lot of his code out. Said, "I'm not playing your games anymore, so I'm taking my code and going home."
Mm.
So they're still working on that. Yeah. And you do know now with the new changes in the rules and stuff, used to if you had a quartet or even a chorus that wanted to compete in another district, had problems with it, you really don't. It's really not a problem anymore. It used to be you had to get permission from the contest judging from the other district. And they had to give you permission. Now you can do in multiple contests. And I see we've got 24 seconds before we go back to our general session. So we'll pick up with the contest entry right here. And with the new system, I'm not sure how we'll do that, but like I said, hopefully we can all enter for fall contest.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pause recording here right quick. If I can get down there, if it'll let me get down there again. Oops. Okay, there we go.
For a second there, I was the only picture. You must be muted, Russell.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Tom, what were you talking about before we were thrown back into the room?
Oh, that's a copyright issue. It turned
Yeah.
out there are companies, this guy's in Colorado, I think, called Higbee and Associates, but they must do some kind of a scan. They went back. We had a habit with putting our chapter bulletins where the public can see them on our web page.
Uh-huh.
Somebody had some tool that could go through it and look everywhere for his pictures. They must have saw this picture, and it was like a 3/4 of an inch square in our chapter bulletin. We got to know that thing is copyrighted, and we're suing you, and we have to pay. And it was like $30,000 or something. It was a heck of a deal. Scared the devil out of us for a while, but
I bet.
so what we did is we buried it behind a password, so you can't get in there without it. password for it. So it's a private thing now. It just goes to our own 40 guys or something. They just finally gave up and said, okay. So watch out for that.
Yeah, some of that stuff is just crazy. I know used to it one thing, the first CD, well, at that time it was cassette, that Big Chicken did for their Christmas album is we had no idea what we were doing, and we put the album out, did not give attribution to anybody on the song. We didn't say who wrote it, who owned the copyright, or anything. We just listed the songs, and just so happened one of the writers of one of the songs was in our audience.
Oh,
It was like Christmas Old Lang Syne or something like that.
yeah.
And after the thing was over, he bought one of the cassettes and came over to Clay at that time, because that's the only person he recognized as somebody having something to do with the chapter. And he says, I notice you don't list anything on here. So Jim Moore, and you probably know Jim Moore, he goes, well, he's the one who was in charge of that. And we just played ignorance. He goes, oh, this is the first one we've ever done. He goes, we were flying blind. And he said, well, that's okay this time. He said, but from now on, you need to put who wrote the song and that it's legal.
Yeah.
So we got very lucky.
Yeah.
But we learned after that, you just cross every T and dot every I you can find.
There are people out there watching for that kind of stuff,
Oh,
making a living doing it.
Well, George Reynolds, the district secretary, the one that just stepped down, he works for BMI, and he says, yeah, they have people that go to performances just to see if they can catch them.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Well, this is some kind of a scanning tool or something that looked over. We've got all our bulletins.
Oh yeah. And they just happened to hit your website at that time and scanned it stuff. Wow.
They scanned all of our bulletins and saw one picture. And I don't know if it was already copyrighted or they went and copyrighted it and then came after us.
I wouldn't doubt that either.
No, that's true. That happens.
And I'll never forget the funniest thing. In like 1995, Big Chicken sang one song, and the very last phrase of it was Joe Clay was dressed up as Colonel Sanders.
Oh.
And he came out on stage and says, "We do chicken right." And we had the forethought, and the contest was in Louisville, Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
So I said, we might better get that cleared. So I wrote Big Kentucky Fried Chicken, and we got a 7-page letter back.
Wow.
Saying, and basically the letter said, yes, you can use the phrase, but it was so restrictive. Only the Marietta chapter of the Barbershop Harmony Society can use this phrase on this date in this venue during this time.
That only, huh? Wow.
And we can only use it at that contest. But I forget what song it was, but at the very end of it, Joe Clay walks out with a bucket, and we ended the song with "We do chicken right," and that was it. I said, that's the only time I got a 7-page yes. But anyway, yeah, and like I said, here the contest entry. Hopefully, we get that. We can start doing that for fall contests. And if you have any questions on that, feel free to give me a call, give me an email, and I'll help you as best I can. One thing that did change several years ago, used to when you do a contest, you would put what songs you're singing. They did change it several years ago. Now you can put all the songs you know in your repertoire, and just so you just have to sing songs that are in your repertoire on stage. Because as a contest administrator now, I remember I did one of my first contests I worked at. One course comes up to sing, and all of a sudden I pull down a list of their songs. They had 17 songs that they could pick from. I'm going like, now I've got to sit here and listen to what they're singing to figure out which one of those 17 songs they're singing. And that's when it helps when you have another contest administrator says, oh, that's this song. You just keep going that way.
Yeah,
That's the big thing they changed several years ago. You can just enter all your songs in your repertoire, and then you don't have to worry about which one you sing. But and just as we said, you just need to make sure they're all legal.
yeah. I did that for my quartet too. Just
Just
think
list
we
them
got
all.
like
Yeah.
35 songs or something on our repertoire, so just
Well,
in case.
oh, back up. There's contest intro. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about. Just
Yeah.
your certification songs and members. And the biggest thing that gets me on that, I know going to international, you're sent a lit. Well, you have to certify all your members a month before contest, and to have their names, their member IDs, and when their dues are paid through. As a secretary, you have to sign that. The president has to sign that, and the director has to sign that. And you send that back to society. And also too, as Dixie District contest, international contest, each person has to have a valid registration for that contest.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
but this basically all this year, just make sure everything's legal when you go to a contest. That's basically what this is saying. And that's it for the slide presentation. What I was going to do right quick, when we had that break, there was one other document I pulled down. Oh, let me get it right quick. Let me pull that up. It's the document I was telling you before. Barbershop is a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is right there. Okay, share screen. There it is. And the name is The Business of Barbershop. I forget who. Oh, it was revised here recently. Like I said, I think Keith Eckhart from Far Western District put this all together, which is a nice thing. He did a lot of good things for this. And basically, it goes through every month what the president should do. Secretary prepare, the secretary meet with the president to prepare monthly board agenda, and then what the treasurer should do. And now look who snuck into our meeting. And any month is needed, required, what the president should do, filling vacancies on the chapter board of directors, have nominated committees, find a candidate, what the secretary should do, any contest cycle. This is things to do. Just basically, it's just a nice little bullet list of things to do for your chapter and what should be done, all different things. Show clearances, where to do that, and he's got some lists, some links in there where you can go through that. Yeah. And your journal of public service, like I said, like I keep a spreadsheet of different things we do. And then the business of barbershop, what the treasurer's supposed to do, and then it goes down the bottom of it, what happens in January. The president appoints a nominating committee for 30 days of annual meeting in September, and then what the secretary, the appointment of financial handlers, and it just goes through each month, February, what happens, and it's just a good little resource to have. You just keep it handy. Each month you figure out what you should be doing. And some of it's a little different. The financial review, like I said, our chapter, our treasurer's already done the financial review. He already got that done like a week or so ago. So that part's done. But this is just a nice, and I'll send this along to you guys as well, because like I said, this is a nice little. It's only 10 pages long, but like I said, it goes through each month what the president, secretary, and treasurer should do, and it's just nice to have.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So are there any questions or anything that you can think of that we should have covered that we didn't cover?
Well,
I'm good.
as green as I am, no.
Oh, okay. And like I said, what I do when I send this out to you guys, I'll put my contact information in there too. And like I said, if you ever have any questions, feel free to get in contact with me. I'll give you my cell phone, and if you call me, if I don't pick up, chances are I'm cooking lunch for a bunch of guys at church. Just leave me a message and I'll get back to you.
All right.
All right, good deal.
So
Okay,
so Bob, you got here just as we got finished. You're on mute, Bob.
That's all right. We see you.
ESP, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Paul Blazer was here a few minutes ago. He was talking about the 1099 NEC form. During our little break, I went and looked that up, and I've updated the slide presentation I gave you guys. It now says 1099 NEC, and it looked like it was a pretty straightforward document. I may ask our treasurer if he used that this time or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, we covered show clearances, copyright information, the youth policy. We didn't get to cover a lot on membership changes because, well, they were saying during the breakout that the member center is now available, but I don't know if it's up fully or not. And they're going to do some resources out to start working on that.
Yeah, that's questionable. Because I went to that member center yesterday.
Yeah.
It was open. I could get in there, but there's very little I could do.
Yeah, I thought they were still beta testing it through tomorrow.
Well, yeah, because the email I saw said they updated January 4th and 5th, and it would be generally available on the 11th. So that's Monday.
Yeah,
I was going to hold off till Monday to see what was going on, and I was going to start playing with it.
Yeah, I was in there yesterday and couldn't get into any specific information.
Yeah.
Database information.
Right.
Okay. Did you get into the new dues structure thing?
The new dude? No, I hadn't even tried that yet.
Okay.
Well, you mean the membership categories?
That's part of it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta. Once I get in there, I need to see how it affects our due structure for the district.
Right. Yeah, because we made some changes a few months ago, right?
Yeah, we changed it, and as of October 1, all dues categories were cut in half for the year.
Right.
And one thing I'd like to know too, what are they replacing the easy dues with?
Good question.
There may
As
be
well as what happens to us folks who have been on Easy Do.
Yeah, I'm
Do
one
we
of
now
those as well. Yeah. Hopefully this new system will have something like that in place. It'd be nice. But
Got to.
Yep.
I hope they still have something like that in place, because that makes it a whole lot easier.
In more ways than one.
Yeah. But anyway. So yeah, like I said, if I'll send out, since I have all you guys in the registration, I have your email addresses. I'll send out email addresses. I send out this stuff, the business of Barbershop, the slide presentation I did, and my contact information. If you ever have any questions on whatever you need, I'll be there.
All right. Good deal.
Did you lose a couple of attendees, or?
I lost one. There were only 3 here. I thought there were more than that signed up.
Yeah, there were 4 signed up.
There was Jim here, Tom, and Don Shaw, was it? I think
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
His computer.
Carl Geisen. Carl Geisler was supposed to be in the class.
He never showed up.
Wow.
When Don, poor Don, his computer froze on him twice. And he said the third
Oh.
time he came on, he goes, if it freezes this time, I'll just look at the recordings later on. And sure enough, about 5 minutes into that last session, all of a sudden he was gone.
Wow.
The good part is Jim and I had lots of personal attention in this class, so no problem.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Okay. Well, let me,
You want me to alert Melinda?
well, we can
She
just
said
leave the
just
meeting.
leave.
We can just
Yeah.
leave the meeting from here.
Just
Yeah,
take
she's
off.
going to send me to a different room.
Okay. Yeah. She knows. Yeah. She needs to send you somewhere else before we go bye-bye, I guess.
Okay, yeah. Let me do that real quick.
Okay. And I hope I don't have one of these pictures in my yard anytime soon. They keep talking about wintry mix.
Was that in your Georgia home, Russ?
Oh,
with all
that?
snow?
Oh, this,
Yeah.
yeah, this was in Powder Springs in December 2017.
Wow.
And you know, Jimmy was talking about the big storm in '93.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that March 13th of '93 because Big Chicken was supposed to have a show at Georgia Tech. And I woke up that Saturday morning and I heard thunder. And I looked outside and went, boy, it's foggy outside. And I looked a little bit closer and said, that's not fog, that's snow. I got 14 inches of snow that day.
Holy smokes.
And it was funny, about 1 p.m., I get this phone call from our phone tree at that time for Big Chicken. It said, oh, by the way, our show's canceled tonight. I said, you think?
Yeah, we had just moved into Alabama
Oh, wow.
the summer before that,
Yeah.
and that was basically our welcome to Alabama. And my daughter was sledding down one. We lived in the top of one hill in the middle of three, and she and a friend were sledding down one of the hills next to us and caught a telephone post. Right, that she had to go between a mailbox and a telephone post, and she picked the telephone post.
And those are some steep hills in Birmingham.
Yeah. That particular one was a good one to sled down if you stayed on the road.
My boss at the time, he went to Florida that weekend, and I guess sort of what Jimmy was talking about. He ran into a couple of tornadoes just south of Tallahassee on I-75. He goes, it was horrible because I remember that whole front. I mean, it tore the whole eastern coast up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was funny that morning. It's 6 a.m. My wife got up. She said it was just raining at 6. When I woke up at 7:15, well, thunder woke me up at first, and I looked up and went, it's foggy, and looked outside and said, boy, it's a snow. And it stopped snowing about 4 that afternoon, but I had like 9-10 inches of snow on the ground. I had some drifts where it blew up against the house. It was like 2 feet deep.
Yeah.
I don't think Melinda's gonna let you out of this room.
She just texted me back. She's in the process.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I contacted on that song I asked you about. I contacted Jimmy on that, and he gave me the information I was looking for. I guess he missed that, so
I guess.
that's all right.
Well, it was great talking to you guys. I'll let me do this right quick. Stop the share. There we are. We're back. And
I still got about 33% blocked off here. I keep
I wonder
going.
why.
I'm afraid I'm going to lose. I guess it doesn't matter at all.
Well, I'm gonna since we're done with the class, I'm gonna stop recording.